Good evening, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to it's a Monday night, and man, it's feeling like a Monday night. September 29th, 2025. It's 11:08 p.m. here, West Coast time in California. Latest activity there shows looks like a 3.1 across the area of, up around outside of Italy area, northward, actually eastward here of the Italy area. Still seeing a lot of earthquake activity there. We'll check that here in just a second. I do want to cover earthquake activity here along the Garlock fault shear zone. Been swarming out here today. There's a number of earthquakes, a 3.1 and a couple other earthquakes in there as well. That area obviously is a major concern in terms of stress buildup along the Pacific plate boundary. That's going to be the San Andreas fault. There's a reason why it's called a shear zone, is because it builds up a lot of stress and shear pressurization there between the plate boundary here of the San Andreas fault, right? Pacific plate and the North American plate here. Pressurization is quite great out here across this area right now. In the last couple months, or last few months, we've seen a couple hundred earthquakes out there, specifically in this area of the Garlock fault shear zone. It runs opposite of what you would normally see out here along the west coast, which is normally northwest or southeast eastward fault systems. This runs pretty much east to west, west to east there, and it builds up a lot of stress and strain. When this stirs up, that tells me right there that the stress is on across the plate boundary. So watch that closely there, folks. It is showing quite a bit of strain out there. Real quick there across the Cascadia tremor map, it's getting elevated. 417 epicenters of Cascadia tremor. That's slow slip events there across the Washington area. Heading up to the Victoria area, looks like. Nothing going on down south here, but if you look in the last week, most of the slow slip events have been recorded up there across the Washington area. This happens every 14 to 16 months or so. Up in this general area, although most of the tremor activity here, if you go back in the last month, has been recorded down south here across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. But either way, 8,341 epicenters of tremor across the Cascadia. That's a lot here for a month recording. That's slow slip events being recorded deeper into the subduction zone of the Cascadia. Obviously, as that happens, we're building up strain and stress across the locked area of the Cascadia subduction zone. No new earthquake activity report out there across the Blanco fracture zone. There's a small amount of earthquake activity there across the Mount St. Helens region. If we check there on the map here, I'll show you guys Mount St. Helens. Excuse me. There's a little bit of activity being reported. I believe that's the little earthquake that the USGS reported right here, but they're lacking in terms of reporting some of this other earthquake activity. But the amplitudes here are jacked up, showing pretty much even some of the smallest of smallest earthquake activity. But there was a little earthquake here. It looks like around 7:30, or that's 1800, 5:30 or so. It looks like. That would be this earthquake right here, a little 0.3, around 1714, right? That would match the 1714 time period right here. But there's a number of earthquakes here that have not been reported, obviously. Nothing big. I don't see any major increase out there. There's another earthquake out there this afternoon, but there's a fraction of the earthquakes that are happening that are actually being reported out here. Bay Area pretty quiet. There's a cluster going on out here across the interchange here. This is where branches of the San Andreas fault kind of stir off here inland. You got the Calaveras fault, branches into the Hayward fault, the Calaveras fault, and a couple other faults out there. The Hayward fault here showing a 1.4. Also some earthquake activity in the 2.2 range today. As we know, it's been quite active out there across the Hayward fault, with a swarm of activity north here around the Berkeley area. Look at that swarm. and a little bit down south. This area is well overdue for some big earthquake activity, and it's starting to show. The signs are starting to show out there, folks. Southern California, it's further south down here, pretty quiet. There's really, I don't see too much earthquake activity showing up out there, and I'm hoping this is the legit earthquake activity. I know there's been some issues here with the data intermittently blacking out or not showing up here on the map. Some further activity up here in Nevada. Look at that. We've got a swarm of activity stirring up there outside of Valmy, Nevada again. We got 12 earthquakes of 2s and 3s out there, including some smaller earthquakes. It looks like they jumped in on some of the smaller earthquake reporting. Checking the microphone again, because I'm telling you guys here, before this update, I did another update that lasted for 12 minutes here, and for some reason, my microphone cut out. I didn't do anything here on this end. So there's some suspicious stuff going on here on my side once again, with my solar generator powering off, my computer resetting by itself. When I don't have it set like that, it's not supposed to reset. And now my microphone cutting out. You know, it's like, hello, that seems a little odd. I've never had my microphone just cut off like that, so I'm little wary as to why that's going on. Yellowstone National Park, not a whole lot of activity showing up there, but we will double check the Yellowstone overview, which shows, stand by for a second. I don't know, someone must be really bored here if they really want to interfere with me. Think about it. I'm just a guy out here expressing my knowledge in earthquake activity and physical science, and someone just someone doesn't like it. I don't know who it is. Maybe it's my biggest fan. Maybe really it's my biggest fan. If you want to meet me, that's fine. Then we'll meet up somewhere, but stop, messing with me. It's like crazy. A couple smaller earthquakes there throughout the that's late last night, early this morning as well. No major swarms going on. I don't see any elevated activity stirring up there across Yellowstone National Park. That's up there in northwestern Wyoming. But the pressure is definitely on out here. You can see elevated areas across the San Andreas Fault, the shear zone, inland. We got to be on guard out here. Oil fields in Texas still rocking and rolling. Nothing new to report. The New Madrid seismic zone, pretty quiet there for now. Take a look here at the worldwide event of earthquake activity, including the largest magnitude, which goes up here to 5.5 in the Kamchatka area. This originally coming in as a 5.7 earthquake. A little bit of a downgrade there, but still a decent amount of uptick. Let's see what we got here. Nothing really new to report across Japan for now. Some newer activity. It looks like deep underneath the North Island area. Watch the Hikurangi subduction zone. There's a little bit of filling in here along that quiet zone I've been talking about. 5.0 stirred up. There's one little area right about here that we should see some further activity escalate, probably overnight. But, man, look at the Turkey area. Still rocking and rolling out there with earthquake activity. I do think something bigger is brewing out there. The Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet. It almost looks like, I'm going to bring this down just a little bit here. It just looks like there's some lacking of earthquake reporting out here for some reason. Like I say, I've seen it here on the USGS map here over the last couple days, but there's been some verifications here. Like right now here. Well, I mean, I guess a couple of these are showing up on the map, so this is officially working. But I've been having issues out here as far as the reporting goes. Make me sound crazy when I say there's quakes out here and then all of a sudden they disappear. It's like, hello, come on. Hawaii, I believe we've had an eruption out there. Let's go check that out real quick before I forget about it. I know I forget about it because oftentimes here, the Kilauea volcano, it erupts there on a fairly common interval. So let's see. There has been 8 gas overflows from the north vent overnight, with the frequency increasing this morning. Events lasting 5 to 10 minutes. Well, what's going on? Did it erupt or not? Let's go see. Let's take a look at this. Let's go take a look. Make sure my microphone's working. You don't have to double check. It's a sad world when I have to make sure that no one's messing with my microphone in my own home. Wow. Definitely some overflow going on there, but is there any fountaining going on? I don't know here. I wasn't watching this earlier. Let's go back to the deformation data and see what's up here. This will tell me everything I need to know. No, I guarantee you there was no fountaining going on just because of what we're seeing right here. So we got overflow going on right now with the Kilauea volcano, but the inflation is kicking up like crazy. Look at that in the last few hours. I think here we should see some spectacular eruption fountainings here going on across Kilauea volcano overnight. I think that will hit by sunrise. So we got overflow going on, as you can see there in the webcam imagery, and that's actually been stirring up there even since this morning. So I think this is going to pop and look pretty spectacular once it does. I don't think it's going to cause anything of, anything of abnormal activity, but the fountaining should be way up there once this thing does decide to erupt. But right now, maximum inflation going on. There's overspill here outside of the crater. Yeah, I would be watching this closely here. I think that's going to stir up in terms of lava fountaining in a spectacular fashion pretty soon. Probably by sunrise. All right, let's see. Typical movement out there across the Indonesia area and the Java Trench. I don't see any major uptick. Obviously, we still have to watch what's going on out here across the Turkey area, the Mediterranean region. And that 3.1 looks like it's coming in east here. Probably I'm guessing up around this area here, off the coast there of Albania. That's what it looks like anyway. But the unprecedented swarm going on out there, that's just a crazy amount of earthquake activity here, including the 2.9 that just stirred up. I do think it has something to do with the major swarm out there around the Santorini area recently. About 4 months ago, we had a swarm of hundreds and thousands of earthquakes there around the Santorini, Greece area and the Colombo volcano underneath the area, and nothing ever happened as far as an eruption or bigger earthquake, as far as any bigger earthquake goes. But I'm thinking this activity is leading to something bigger in the area, whether it's a big earthquake or a volcano eruption, because the swarm that's been going on out there across Turkey is an incredible amount of aftershock activity for a simple 6.0 earthquake 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I think is what it is. But it's been definitely kicking up out there. We do have to watch that. All right. Okay. Space weather activity. This, for me anyway, this has turned into pretty much an hour-long update because I was explained the same thing here, but for whatever reason, my microphone cut off, and I didn't pull on the plug. I didn't hit any buttons. It just automatically shut off. Really weird. So, yeah. Number of sunspots out there. Wow. Hello. G2 class storm. Well, there you go. Look at that. There's a big-time aurora event taking place out there across Alaska, Canada, stretching across the northern tier states. Hey, If you're a Northern Light watcher, get out there, check it out. Not a huge event, not really stretching down here across Oregon or Washington, maybe northern Washington, but that kind of stirred up out of the blue. And I'm kind of curious, where did that come from? There was no major solar flares, no major coronal holes. This is an old image here from 2 weeks ago. Our latest imagery here shows a coronal hole that's facing us, number 83 and 84, but once this is facing us here, it takes technically 48 to 72 hours to reach the planet. So where in the heck is this coming from? What's going on here? Let's see here. Nothing. Look, check this out, folks. And this is what I'd say. This is why I'm talking that it's weird. The speed here, very low in terms of solar wind stream. The density, very low. Temperature, very low. So why are we getting elevated conditions right now? Well, it's a BT-BZ component of the interplanetary magnetic field that is wide open. This is pointing way south here. When these run times here are way south of the zero, a negative number, that allows the aurora activity to really stir up for no reason at all. Really, look at that. We got a G2 class storm stirring up because there's nothing happening. I mean, does that make sense? I don't even know if it made sense to me right now. Really, that's crazy. You know, there was no solar flares, no major CMEs Earth directed, no coronal holes directed at Earth. Yet we have what looks like a decent aurora event stirring up right now into the G2 class storm. I tell you what, that's pretty crazy there. And that was like that earlier today as well. That was just wide open. Nothing going on in terms of elevated space weather activity, but, you know, you could have fooled me. That goes to show you that BT-BZ component has a major effect there on what comes in here to the planet in terms of space weather activity. So we do have what looks like a major solar storm going on there for nothing. But get out there and check it out if you have clear skies. Look to the north. So, yeah, that stirred up out of the blue, surprisingly. Absolutely no reason aside from the BT-BZ component. Crazy stuff here. All right, let's get back to the flaring activity, see what we got. I really wish the latest imagery would come up. Now, Kevin here that runs the solar ham site, I'm going to have to figure out where he gets this image from. Because obviously it's somewhat recent, but it's still behind, though. About a day. Either way, the solar flare activity stirring up there across 4232 and all these other sunspots out there on the eastern limb. There's some complexity there within those sunspots. Also down here, look at that. Starting to stir up. Quite a bit of sunspot potential there as well. The flare threat is jumping up, okay? 55% chance there for an M flare, X flare around 10%, which is reasonable. The instability is starting to show out there along the solar flare detection chart. Otherwise, it wouldn't look like this. So it does look like we'll see some stronger M flares, maybe even an X flare from a number of these sunspots that are popping up and just going crazy. But I'm really impressed here with this. You know, a G2 class solar storm literally for no reason at all. No CMEs, no major flares, no coronal holes, but here we are. All because of this. Crazy. All right, let's see what we got here for the numerical model. There's the Fujiwara effect there with two hurricanes. Luckily for the eastern portion of the country, this big hurricane is pulling that tropical system away from land. Isn't that crazy? Otherwise, this could easily come into the eastern portion of the country and cause havoc, but it's gone. That's crazy. I don't recall seeing anything like that, where a big hurricane will divert another hurricane with potential away from land. I mean, really, that's crazy. Far as anything else in the forecast there, I don't see anything coming into the Gulf or the Atlantic. It looks like a low pressure system there stirring up later into October, but we'll have to check back on that. I got a couple measly sprinkles out here in Northern California today, from the low pressure system that came in. Pretty disappointed, definitely disappointed. But I am watching here what looks like a decent Pacific warming event going on. This is the sea surface temperature of the Pacific, and it's way above normal. Now, what can happen in these events for our winter out here across the West Coast is stronger Pacific storms here. So even though we have maybe a La Nina event coming up here, which normally means drier down south, wetter up north, for the Pacific Northwest, with this type of sea surface temperature out here for the Pacific, it may amplify these storms out there hitting the West Coast coming up this winter. So I'm watching this closely. I pulled it up here on Google Earth, and man, it's just a massive area of the Pacific that's well above average in terms of the typical average sea surface temperature. So it will be interesting to watch and see how that plays out here for our storms along the West Coast. All right. Anything else going on? Seismograph station's quiet. I don't know what else to expect here in terms of surprises. Next thing I know, I don't know. I got a lot of weird activity stirring up here around me recently. With the live stream going down and solar generator powering off by itself, my microphone cutting off in my last update. It's weird stuff going on, and I'm not involved in it. I didn't push a button. I didn't pull on anything. It's definitely some strange stuff going on out here. So I don't know what else can go on here. I suppose here, if someone pulled up a message remotely, I would know for certain that someone is messing with me. I don't have any definite proof right now, but if someone pulled up a scroll here on my computer saying, we are watching you, that would be creepy. I don't know what I would do in that case. I don't want it to be tested, because then I don't know what I would do. But I do know that there's been a lot of stuff going on here that I've been dealing with, and it's not normal. It shouldn't be happening here with the live stream and stuff going down and things turning off. Ghost in the machine? Maybe. All right. I'm out of here, folks. Have yourself a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys out here for the Tuesday morning update. Stay safe.